I am here today to speak directly to the choir. I know a lot of people wish to wake the sleeping, but I find it imperative to speak directly to you. For it is the choir that has the task of waking the sleeping, no? But for some reason the choir is still asleep. I am one of those people, as the awakening is always a work in progress. To think that all the work is done is just setting ourselves up for failure. We speak on one cause, but are separated by the boundaries set up by the same establishment that we stand against. We are still separated by race, color, religion, tactics, importance, sport team, shoes, music, you name it. We use it against each other. So how are we supposed to tell the rest of the world how it should live, what it should do, how it should view things, how it should feel, when we ourselves can't get it together with our common cause? Doesn't this always seem to be the case in everything? We have learned everything that can be learned. No one can tell us anything to change our mind. We have all the answers and all the wisdom. But if this is so, why can't we get it together? Where is that ultimate solution that's for all? Do you think for a minute that the same elite that we talk about isn't laughing at our separation, our division? That they feel threatened at all? That they're even sweating us? We do all of the work for them. Their efforts and their end game are at a minimum. Everything is going exactly as planned. It's on cruise control. We make it so easy for them to do their thing. And until we ourselves wake up to the fact that we are all different, with different gods or not, different colors, likes, dislikes, we will perpetuate their message and their goals. This has been their biggest weapon against us. And we just go along for the ride thinking we something special. We are enlightened, but guess what? Everyone thinks that deep down, especially them. So we could do the same old run around in our cause, our revolution, whatever you wish to call it. Or we could do something different by putting all of those differences aside to realize that a real solution must encompass many, not just one. Many kinds, not just one kind. Many faces, not just one face. Now, doesn't this sound like the logical next step? Isn't this long overdue? Don't you want to progress in our cause? I mean, people ask me all the time, what can I do, change the channel? Or it's, how can we do anything against them? They're so powerful. Well, we give them that power openly, even the choir does. You want change? Change how you view the world. And stop viewing it in the same way that they want us to. That would be a large step in the right direction. That's what I think we need. Stop your normal reaction that you have towards people. Stop, think, then reply. Be smart about it. The time of the novice era is over. Let's take it to the next level, starting in ourselves. I'm Change the Channel. This is a message to the choir. Catch y'all next time, and I'm out.
Hi, I'm Kenneth Webb, or as you know me, Change the Channel. And I want to start off by saying thanks for your support. All the kind comments, all the shared information. I mean, it's just been off the hinges. Also wanted you to know that any and all proceeds that I get from this DVD, DVDs in the future, or any revenue that I get from YouTube or Spy Witness News goes directly into the cause. In the last year, I've been able to pay for a nice server host for SpyWitnessNews.org, a cool condenser microphone, tripods, boom stands, XLR cables, terabyte external hard drives for storage. I just got a multi-DVD burner so I can start putting out DVDs, as well as making copies of other documentaries, and handing them out. Now, I don't tell you this for any other reason, but, just to share with you what I do and how I'm doing and where I'm at in this battle. I'm just an artist, musician, activist, trying to use anything available to spread truth and expose those casts that are plotting against us. I mean, using YouTube has been a large factor in doing that. I mean, being able to reach people, all over the world. I mean, it opened up a lot of doorways. It's a nice addition to the underground network, no doubt. I mean, which used to be you was on the street passing out zines and handing out your DVDs or your tapes, or whatever. I mean, you still need to do that, no doubt about it. But the internet, it's a good addition. Now, I was living off the grid last year and had a lot of peaceful time to come up with new ideas for shows. And as far as shows go, the way I see show is just a different format to spread the information. Now, it has generally been spawned by comments, my ideas for stuff, and all of that. You know, especially these hater cats. They'll take 2-hour documentary and only watch the intro, even if that much. You know, maybe just read the title before they think they have debunked the whole thing. And after observing this for a while on the Obama Deception last year, Alex Jones's film, I decided to do a show about conspiracies and events, you know, that are well documented and provable. Now, present a few facts and see how the debunkers react. Now, I'm no professional video guy, so you'll notice quality irregularities, audio fluctuations, or me just, you know, doing a bunch of effect filters too much or something like that. It's always a work in progress, and you'll notice the improvement in it all, you know, as the season goes by, because, you know, I'm learning, buying new gear and all of that. So let's check out the first episode, and then we'll have a chat after. ChangeDaChannel, and this is my new show called Debunk This. This show mainly for you debunkers out there that are always saying that us tinfoil hat wearers, as you like to refer to us as, never present any evidence, and we just whack job conspiracy nuts for believing such things. Now come on, man, you gotta admit, everyone believes in conspiracies, whether you believe 19 hijackers conspired to attacks in 9/11, or you believe it was an inside job. So let's just stick to the definition. Now, what I'm going to be doing on this show is presenting a couple of pieces of evidence of events that happened throughout our history that point to conspiracy. And yes, each one has agreed that a conspiracy existed no matter what side of the fence you sit on. Now, I'll limit it to a couple of specifics to keep it simple and to the point. And if you can debunk any of what I'm saying or whatever I show, now I want you to do a response video and post it down in the video responses. Now, I don't want to hear any BS either. You debunkers talk the talk, but can you walk the walk? And that's what we're here to find out. The date was April 19, 1995 at 9:02 a.m. A single truck picked up by Timothy McVeigh on April 17th exploded in the street in front of the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building. The truck was filled with roughly 5,000 pounds of ammonium nitrate and nitromethane. About 90 minutes later, McVeigh was stopped by an Oklahoma State trooper for driving a vehicle without a license plate, who then arrested him on firearms charges. 2 days later, he was charged in the bombing. His friend Terry Nichols was arrested in Kansas for conspiring with McVeigh on May 10th. By this, it's a fact that there was a conspiracy. Say it with me. Conspiracy. Okay, let's flip the script. The year was 1993, and Martin Keaton, brother of Oklahoma Governor Frank Keaton, wrote a novel called The Final Jihad. And in this book, a man named Tom McVeigh bombs the Oklahoma City building.
News Channel has learned of another strange development. Apparently, before the bombing, Governor Frank Keating's brother, Mark, had been working on a novel about a terrorist bombing in Oklahoma City. Stranger still, one of the characters in the novel was named Thomas McVeigh.
And on top of that, he dedicated his book to the Knights of the Secret Circle. And you at least gotta admit, that's some strange coincidence. I mean, what was this cat, Nostradamus reincarnated or something? Now back to the day of the bombing.
The first bomb that was in the federal building did go off. It did the damage that you see right there. The second explosive was found and diffused. The third explosive that was found, and they are working on right now as we speak, I understand, both the second and third explosives, if you can imagine this, were larger than the first.
2 other explosive devices were found.
I think he said another bomb.
The Justice Department is reporting that a second explosive device has been found.
That in fact 2 different explosive devices were found in addition to the one that went off.
Confirmed through federal authorities that a second bomb has been found.
The medical teams downtown are unable to get into the wreckage to retrieve more of the injured because of the presence of other bombs in the area.
But it was a great stroke of luck that we actually have got diffused bombs. It's through the bomb material that we will be able to track down who committed this atrocity.
And they said it, not me, multiple bombs. So how is it that the official report doesn't mention this? Am I just a whack conspiracy nut who missed something and thinking that there's a conspiracy to hide evidence? I'm not even thinking about the why. It's the if and the how which leads to the why. And the if and the how is proven here. Now debunk that. I've changed the channel. This has been my new show called Debunk This. Catch me next week where we'll tackle another conspiracy theory head on. And I'm out. Now, this was the first show. I didn't know what the response would be, so I gauged by the comments, I was surprised by the lack of debunking also. The only thing a few debunkers said was about the book, The Final Jihad, which I only put in there because I thought it was some strange stuff. It was a news broadcast of it and everything. I didn't put this in here as like, hey, try to debunk this, but I wasn't specific. I'm going to learn the lesson from it, Or one guy was supposed that he had a copy of the book and he was going to, send it to me and let me see that there wasn't, or show me some copies or something anyway. But he never sent anything, and the rest of the video was never debunked. I did learn from that, though. Not anymore will I go in there and not be specific that I thought this was strange, because I just didn't. I didn't say that, but that's what I was thinking. But anyway, learning progress. And the next one popped out of the list of episodes, ideas that I had added to the list, and I had been collecting from comments, from the first episode. And this one was on the first World Trade Center bombing. I've changed the channel, and this is Debunk This. Now, if you're a new subscriber out there, I'll put a short summary over in the description area so you can check out and see what the show's all about. I also suggest you to watch the first episode, and this is the second episode, and I'm just going to jump right on in. The date was February 26, 1993, when a car bomb was detonated below the North Tower of the World Trade Center in New York City. The 1,500-pound bomb was intended to knock down the North Tower, Tower 1, into the South Tower, Tower 2, bringing down both towers and killing thousands of people. It failed to do so, but did kill 6 people and injured 1,042. And that was the official story. Now let's flip the script and go a little bit ahead in time to October.
Last winter, the FBI was praised for its speed in cracking the case of the World Trade Center bombing and bringing 4 suspects to trial. Now, there is some evidence that the FBI may have known of the plot in advance through an informant and might even have stopped the bombing that killed 6 people. Correspondent Jacqueline Adams has the story.
FBI agents might have been able to prevent last February's deadly explosion at New York's World Trade Center. They discussed secretly substituting harmless powder for the explosives, but they didn't, according to the FBI's own informant, Imad Salem. Unbeknownst to the FBI at the time, Salem recorded many of his conversations with his handlers.
I'm holding 903 pages of draft transcripts.
Kunstler confirmed newspaper reports of the Salem transcripts. In one, Salem complains to an FBI agent, "Since the bomb went off, I feel terrible. I feel bad. I feel here is people who don't listen." The agent replies, "Hey, I mean, it wasn't like you didn't try and I didn't try. You can't force people to do the right thing."
Man, see? That's what I'm talking about here. That's what I'm talking about here. People don't see these things. All right, now, on October 28, 1993, in the New York Times, the headline read, "Tapes depict proposal to thwart bomb used in Trade Center blast." Okay. Law enforcement officials were told that terrorists were building a bomb that was eventually used to blow up the World Trade Center, and they planned to thwart the plotters by secretly substituting harmless powder for the explosives. Now, the informer was to have helped the plotters build the bomb, supply the fake powder, but the plan was called off by the FBI supervisor, who had other ideas about how to use the informer, Imad Salem. Now, man, I'm telling you, this is a conspiracy. Period. Say it with me. Conspiracy. Now, all you debunkers out there are always talking that flim-flam about how us tinfoil hat wearing cats, just, we're crazy. But, with things like this, how can you think we're crazy? Do you read these things? Do you keep up with these things? Do you think that this is just made up? Come on. Now, what I want you to do is debunk this. Anyhow, this has been Debunk This. Catch me next week while I tackle another conspiracy. I'm ChangeDaChannel, and I'm out. Now, this episode was re-edited. So, the quality isn't as bad as the one that was on YouTube. You know, I only had the clip of me just talking through with no graphics or anything like that. So the quality is better than that one, and because I only learned, you know, really good compression settings for videos over the last 6 months. You know, so as I say, it's always a work in progress as far as, you know, the quality of the videos and stuff like that. But anyhow, I realized after this episode right here that you know, I use a lot of evidence from newspapers or news footage and stuff like that, you know, and I always try to put myself, you know, and think like a debunker, you know, any excuse they'll come up with not to believe, you know, and I was thinking that they would just probably eat this episode up because it was just basically off of that, and but I was wrong, you know, another one with no debunking. And I did learn from this one, you know, as far as in presentation is what I was thinking in this one. I needed more links to declassified files, you know, for the grid, you know, and then use media for a secondary that's, you know, is supported by the documents. Now, the next episode called The Most Flack. Oh, man, this thing called The Most Flack. Let's check it out. Change the channel, and this is Debunk This. Now, for my new subscribers out there, check out the description for more details about what the show is about. Let's go jump on into this right here now. And there's a lot of people out there who still believe that there isn't anything wrong with fluoride. Now, I know you've seen the spam out there from the fluoride dude and stuff like that, spamming up about fluoride's bad, and people are like, well, they don't want to even put, Change the Channel don't even put fluoride in drinking water anymore. Now, I only knew a little bit about this myself before the episode. You know, I did some research, you know, and now I know there's no doubt. There's no doubt. I mean, it's factual. It's in the chemistry. It's in the periodic table. I mean, seriously, what's going on here? And I really want you to debunk this so I can feel safer that I haven't been poisoned or something like that. So let's first look at toothpaste, all right? You know, your toothpaste. If you got it out there, you know, and I want you to look on the back of the label right now. We're going to start with this. We got the Rembrandt. Get it on in there. Rembrandt toothpaste. Let's see what it says on the back. Warning, keep out of reach of children under 6 years of age. If more than an amount used for brushing is accidentally swallowed, get medical help or contact the Poison Control Center right away. Now this is on the back. Let me see if I can get a zoom in on this right here. Now, what I really want to know is what exactly is the amount used, because they said more than used for brushing. Now, you know, I mean, I don't know, but like me, I use a certain amount on my toothbrush. You use a certain amount on yours, right? So, I mean, is it a little dabble? Anything over a dabble or a clump? Now, sodium fluoride is classified as toxic by both, you know, inhalation, you know, from the dust or the aerosols, and ingestion. And in high enough dose, it has been shown to affect the heart and the circulatory system. And there's even lethal doses for a 70 kilogram, which is 154 pound human, is estimated at 5 to 10 grams. They stop using this in your drinking waters now, all you people in the cities or your own county water or whatever. They stopped using this to fluoridate the water. Now, what they started using was hexafluorosilicic acid, and that's what they put in the water now. Now, here's what this is. It's also commonly used to water fluoridation in several countries, including the United States, Great Britain, and Ireland. It is corrosive and may cause fluoride poisoning. Inhalation of the vapors can cause lung edema, okay? Now, which is the condition of watery fluid collecting in the cavities and tissues of the body. Okay, now look at it in the realms of this. Look at it, it says that, you know, the sodium fluoride, if you do over whatever amount to brush your teeth, right, which varies from person to person, that it's poison. So you are getting some of this into your bloodstream over a period of time. And you brush your teeth 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, every time after a meal, snack, how many times you brushing your teeth a day and how much of this stuff you absorbing. And I mean, this goes into account for this, right? And not only on top of that, but now you in there taking that shower, right? You wash and scrub a dubbing, right? And you know, you got it going through the pores of your skin, but now this vapor, you know, from this acid is going into your lungs, okay? It causes heart problems, respiratory problems, and all of this, you know, and that's just this is just the basics, man. They ain't even no telling exactly what this stuff does. Anyway, that's all the time I have for today. Please debunk this. I'm ChangeDaChannel. Catch us next week when we gonna tackle another issue that I'm gonna want you to debunk, but you can't, and I'm out. Now, I wanted to mix the series up a little, so I chose to do this topic after researching it, you know. It was added to the list because of, you know, there was a guy who went around, and he was going around to the first 2 episodes of Debunk This, and it was called the Fluoride Guy. That was his name. He's putting all that over there, and that kind of pushed me. It was something different and something to put in the mix and everything. But the buzzers was out for this one. The first thing they were all over was me smoking a cigarette and drinking a beer. I know. I wasn't thinking, you know. I totally was not thinking. I was just kicked back, you know. I'm off drinking the beer, having a cigarette, shooting a video, you know. But that was a lesson, though, that you can't let these denials have any excuse. I mean, that's the whole purpose of the show, you know. The second stringers came in about the information itself with all sorts of metaphors to explain their madness, talking about, you know, well, if you eat a lot of salt, a pound of salt or something, that'll kill you too, you know, or something like that, you know, started going crazy with that. And I mean, seriously, I just stated the facts, you know, I just showed the facts. But they really tried on that one, but still, you know, they really couldn't debunk any of the facts. I mean, if it says it on the back of the toothpaste canister, you know, that it's poison, I mean, then in period, it's poison. You know, it says if you swallow more than a normal usage of toothpaste, man, call the Poison Control Center. Now, coupled with shower inhalation and all the other factors presented, I mean, on a daily basis, I mean, and to think it's not having an effect. These cats were right on pointing out the cigarette, you know, really they did, because for one reason. That's just another of the same thing. The first one don't get you. You can't smoke a pack and it's gonna kill you. It gets you slowly over time. Now the next episode was all more about poisoning, you know, that at a bare minimum there was a conspiracy to cover up the information that people were poisoned, or, you know, whatever, which leads to deaths. I mean, you know, so let's check this one out. ChangeDaChannel, and this is Debunk This, a show for you debunkers and people who don't believe in government conspiracy, that the U.S. government and its agency haven't poisoned, killed, and destroyed its own citizens for its own means. This show isn't about why, it's about how. And this show was also for the choir out there to exchange information and ideas in the comments section. Also, I know I could do some long documentary covering hours and hours worth of facts about any of the topics that are covered in this show, but I feel that we just got to keep it simple, you know, with a few key issues that can be backed by documents and other evidence, you know, and it narrows the BS factor of the deniers. Now, the year is 1991, and it's after the Persian Gulf War had ended. Now, the leadership of the Department of Defense has affirmed to veterans and sworn to the U.S. Congress that there is no information classified or unclassified that indicates that chemical or biological weapons were used in the Persian Gulf, and that there were no confirmed detections of any chemical or biological agents at any time during the entire conflict. Now let's go back a little bit to January 17, 1991, and after the air war started in the Persian Gulf, chemical detection units from the Czech Republic confirmed chemical agents. French detection units detected chemical agents. Chemical specialists from the British Army detected chemical agents, and both the Czech and the French forces reported detections immediately to the U.S. forces. Even the U.S. Army forces detected, confirmed, and reported chemical agents, as well as U.S. soldiers were even awarded medals for detecting chemical agents. Now, before I go any further, over in the description, I have some links over there on this, all of this information that I'm going through right now, that you can reference. It's information from the GulfWarVets.com to actual documents from congressional and Senate hearings. There's also a zip file of roughly about 80 unclassified documents from the DOD on this. Now, after this period, the soldiers started experiencing illness, which was later that they came up with Gulf War syndrome, and it's a medical condition affecting many of the veterans of the Gulf War, causing fatigue, chronic headaches, skin and respiratory disorders, tumors. They said its origins is uncertain, though it has been attributed to exposure of combination of pesticides, vaccines, and other chemicals. Now, that's a current definition of Gulf War syndrome. Back then, there was a big division in the medical community, and there still is today. There's still a conflict in it. Matter of fact, in 1995, Dr. Dimitris Petropoulos, who is from Harvard School of Public Health, and he's also a Bilderberger, says that when people hear they should be ill, they become ill. The flip side, as it were, of the placebo effect. If you're telling people they should be sick, of course they'll believe it. And at this time also, and during this period, a lot of psychologists were saying it was PTSD and all this stuff was causing it and stuff like that. But anyhow, I just wanted to give you that to show you, what was going on during this time and how, people in the research field, medical field, they didn't have a clue because they didn't have all the, information. Let's move a little ahead in time to September 19, 1996, and the hearings on the exposure of troops and chemical and biological agents. Now, this is 5 years after the war ended. Now, the DOD admitted that more than 5,000 troops may have been exposed to chemical weapons when a battalion of U.S. soldiers blew up an Iraqi ammunition depot. Okay. Now, 1 month later, at the Pentagon's October 22, 1996 background news briefing, this number was increased to 20,867. Now, on April 11, 1997, after this information had started to come out and surface and stuff like that about this incident that they're admitting, saying happened and all of that, the Washington Post reports that it is now clear that with intelligence available to the government since at least 1986, the exposure could and should have been avoided. It is clear that the CIA, as well as the Defense Department, have been complacent in a stone wall, if not a cover-up. Let's go a little ahead in time. A few months here. June 26, 1997. The Pentagon increased the number to 27,000. On July 24th, less than a month later, 1997, the Pentagon increased the number from 27,000 to 98,900 troops that it could have been, may have been exposed to a path of a plume of nerve gas unleashed when the U.S. combat engineers blew up that ammunition depot in southern Iraq in March 1991, shortly after the war. So with that said, by their lives under oath proven in their own documents and their conflicting testimonies now, it is apparent they conspired to conceal information about the exposure of chemical weapons to U.S. troops during the Persian Gulf War. And only after 5 years, given more conflicting testimony, changing their numbers of soldiers that may have been exposed from 5,000 to 98,900 over a 10-month period on 4 occasions. And also keep in mind, this was from a post-war demolition of the ammunition depot. This in itself conflicts with the French, Czech, and British reports of confirmed chemical agent detection, as well as the U.S. Army's own confirmed detection during the war, not to mention the soldiers that were awarded medals for detecting chemical agents. Even today, U.S. veterans of the 2003 Iraq War have reported a range of serious health issues, including tumors, daily blood and urine, sexual dysfunction, migraines, frequent muscle spasms, and other symptoms similar to the symptoms of the Gulf War syndrome. Now, I'm not saying why or what caused this illness. I'm no doctor. But what I am saying is that they conspired and are still conspiring to conceal vital information that has inhibited the medical community from treating this illness and has cost the lives of thousands of U.S. troops. Now, debunk that. Now, before I close out, I just want to say, I don't want to hear anybody sitting there, and you debunkers out there saying, what is there to debunk? Because that's about the only thing any of you have been able to say in the last 3 episodes. It's like, what is there to debunk? Guess what? It's nothing to debunk. You can't, because it is a fact. It's just the way it is. What you need to do instead of going, what you should do is just admit it. Think about it. Do the research yourself. Look it up. Look it up. And that's all I'm saying. Check out the descriptions and debunk this. And of course, you're not going to be able to. The only thing that if you really got a level head, you're going to be able to do is you're going to reference all the material over here, and then you're going to find out the truth. We're going to wake you up. All those people out here, we are going to wake you guys up, man, because it's just too many facts out there that they've been doing these things and they're still doing them. Anyhow, I've changed the channel. This has been Debunk This. I'll catch y'all next week when we tackle some more stuff head on, and I'm out. And this episode was just off the hinges as far as spreading the word to others who generally wouldn't pay attention, because a lot of non-conspiracy people could more relate to the treatment of U.S. soldiers, through that time period, and then correlate it with the present treatment that they see on the news all the time. I mean, it also reached a lot of soldiers, who shared their symptoms and stories on the thread that supported the documentation that, that was presented. Anyhow, now the next one that just came out and just popped me in the eye, the next episode, is because I heard that Glenn Beck and Popular Mechanics supposedly debunked FEMA camps, right? And I just could smell it. I could just smell the BS. So I was like, okay, all right, I got to check it out. Change the channel, and this is Debunk This. And for my new subscribers out there, Debunk This is a show for debunkers to do their thing. I mean, so many people find it hard to believe that we're being poisoned, tested on, that plans are documented to control and contain us, as well as kill us by the powers that be. That indeed conspiracies exist, and that anyone who speaks of this is just a nut job. This show isn't about why they do what they do. It's about the fact that it has been done, is being done. This won't be a show covering hours worth of evidence. We will focus on an element or two, keep it real simple and to the point. Now, all the links to all the documents are provided in the video description over there. You can check them out. It is my hope that some of these can be debunked, even though I doubt it, so that knowledge and truth can be refined. I also hope that if you can't debunk this, that people start to wake up to the reality of what's happened in the past and continues to go on today, so that the future doesn't consist of this cycle of destruction that kills us in the world we live in. Let's roll. The date is today, 2009. And there are reports all over the internet, as well as videos showing what some claim to be some of the 800 plus FEMA camps inside the United States. They report that they are all staffed and even surrounded by full-time guards, but they're all empty. These camps are operated by FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, should martial law need to be implemented in the United States. Now, there's many sites out there and people who claim that this is absurd and just more tinfoil hat conspiracy theory mumbo jumbo. Even Glenn Beck hopped on the bandwagon on March 26, 2009, where he announced on his Fox Network show that he called Jim Miggs from Popular Mechanics 3 weeks prior to the show, and to have him look into the issue of FEMA cams. Beck then attacked the credibility of the internet by turning to Miggs, who states that Popular Mechanics had assigned one of their reporters to the issue. Yeah, Popular Mechanics, man. Despite admitting that they hadn't deeply researched the issue, Miggs makes it clear they have already decided that this isn't true. Well, Mr. Beck and Miggs of Popular Mechanics, I'm just not going to take your word for it. I think we'll look it up for ourselves. Let's start with a little history. February 19, 1942, President Franklin Roosevelt authorized Executive Order 9066, which is for the internment of Japanese Americans, which refers to the forcible relocation and internment of approximately 110,000 Japanese Americans to housing facilities called war relocation camps. Now, since then, there has been over 100 executive orders signed and legislation passed to strengthen the government's option to do this on an even broader scale, under the guise of national security, national emergencies, immigration, and civil disobedience when they feel is necessary. Now, excuse me. Now, this is just the authorization for such actions. Now, let's examine how they are prepared to carry out these actions. The date is April 5th through the 13th, 1984. REX-84, short for Readiness Exercise 1984, is a plan by the United States federal government to test their ability to detain a large number of American citizens in case of civil unrest or national emergency. Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North and the FEMA agency have drafted a contingency plan providing for the suspension of the Constitution, the imposition of martial law, and the appointment of military commanders to head state and local governments, and to detain dissidents and Central American refugees in the event of a national crisis. There has been other master military contingency plans. Garden Plot is one of them, which is the United States Civil Disobedience Plan 52-2, and a similar earlier exercise titled Lantern Spiker. Now let's take a look at the restructure of command organizations and modern actual implementations of these types of places that we call FEMA cams. November 25th, 2002, Homeland Security Act of 2002 was passed, giving birth to United States Department of Homeland Security. It was intended to consolidate U.S. executive branch organizations related to Homeland Security into a single cabinet agency. There are 22 agencies that were incorporated into the new department, including the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, and the U.S. Immigration and Custom Enforcement, which is ICE. Now, January 24, 2006. KBR, the engineering and construction subsidiary of Halliburton, has been awarded an indefinite delivery / indefinite quantity, IDIQ as they call it, contract from the Department of Homeland Security for construction of detention centers for emergency influx of immigrants into the U.S., or to support a rapid development of new programs, national emergencies such as national disaster, etc. And they're pretty proud of their work, says their executive VP, Bruce Stansky. We are especially gratified to be awarded this contract because it builds our extremely strong track record in the arena of emergency operations support. We look forward to continuing good work we have been doing to support our customer whenever and wherever we're needed. Now, I'll also make a note here that on KBR's news release on their website, they also state that they had the prior contract, which was from 2000 to 2005. Now let's move forward to this past January 22nd, 2009. National Emergency Establishment Act introduced to the House. H.R. 645 was introduced to the 111th Congress in its first session to direct the Secretary of Homeland Security to establish national emergency centers on military installations. Section 2, establishment of the national emergency centers. A, in general, in accordance with the requirements of this act, the Secretary of Homeland Security shall establish not fewer than 6 national emergency centers on military installations. B, purpose of the national emergency centers. The purpose of the national emergency centers shall use existing infrastructure. 1, to provide temporary housing, medical, and humanitarian assistance to individuals and families dislocated due to an emergency or major disaster. 2, to provide centralized locations for the purposes of training and ensuring the coordination of federal, state, and local first responders. Number 3, to provide organizational locations to improve the coordination of preparedness, response, and recovery efforts of government, private, and not-for-profit entities, as well as faith-based organizations. You'll have to check out some of them videos on that, talking to some reverends and stuff now. Before I go on to the last part of this document, this legislation that was put in, they've already been doing this anyway. They've already been doing this. I'll put some video links over there. They've been doing this. I don't know what they're doing with this anyhow. But anyway, number 4, to meet other appropriate needs as determined by the Secretary of Homeland Security. And you notice they always put these types of things in. To meet other appropriate needs as determined by blah, 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 blah. With all that said, that's so hard to believe. Are you debunkers and doofers so hard-headed that you can't accept the facts when they're staring you right in the face to the right of the screen? All you need to do is click the links. And then look at all the videos people have posted showing these places. But perhaps they're in all FEMA camps or whatever you or they would like to call them. But by the evidence presented here, they do exist, which would substantiate that some of these videos are actual camps. At bare minimum, you would at least have to admit that they exist to help us during a national emergency. Of course, you would have to disregard all the legislation that has been passed to give them the powers to use these places for much different purposes. But I'm not here to talk about why. I'm here to provide evidence of if. And that has been provided here. I debunk that. I'm ChangeDaChannel. This has been Debunk This. And catch me next week when we will tackle another issue that you debunkers are going to try to debunk, but you're not going to be able to do it. I catch you tomorrow night, Sunday, on Spy Witness News TV. I'm ChangeDaChannel, and I'm out. I did a lot of research on this one, trying to find things, like that I heard about, like the trains, with the shackles and stuff like that. I found the one everyone was talking about, but I couldn't prove that was definitely its purpose, it's like everyone's saying. So I couldn't, things like that have made me leave a lot of stuff out of these debunk shows, And that people will wonder why I didn't put it in. It's because, I'm really trying to keep it tight. I mean, there was plenty of documents on FEMA camps, from the past and legislation for them all the way up to the present. Now, the KBR website announcement sealed the deal. I mean, and on top of it, if little old me can find this stuff out, how is it Glenn Beck and Popular Mechanics, the debunkers of the 9/11 conspiracy theories, can't? Because they didn't try. And it's just another conspiracy to conceal the truth and information. Straight up. Now, after a break between shows, I kept researching a few different conspiracies and stuff like that. Now, I had been wanting to do one on the JFK assassination, but wanted something new, the newest up-to-date evidence, coupled with some things that we already know, Anyway, let's check it out. I've ChangeDaChannel, and this is Debunk This. The show for the debunkers and the doofers that can't seem to get their little pea brains around the fact that conspiracies have always existed and exist this very day. That we have been tested on and poisoned, that plans are documented to control and contain us as well as kill and enslave us at their will. The show isn't about why they do what they do. It's about the fact that it has and is being done. And this show won't be covering hours worth of evidence. We'll focus on the element or two, keep it simple and to the point. Only using scientific and documental evidence that will be listed to you to reference in the video description over there. Today is Friday, November 22nd, 1963 in Dallas, Texas at 12:30 p.m. in Daley Plaza. John F. Kennedy, the 35th President of the United States, was fatally shot while riding with his wife in the presidential motorcade. Now, I must admit, this episode has been a task. And I'm not going to lie about this. I've been working on this for a while, trying to sift through everything. There's so much information out there on both sides of the fence. I've been over the debunkers information as well as the pro-conspiracy information, and I have to say that both sides do twist facts and words to push their side, and that's just what happens. I'm not going to go over the controversy about the weapon used.
Mauser German-made rifle with the sniper scope sights that was found on the German-built Mauser with the sniper scope that was used to kill President Kennedy, an Italian Manlicher Cartanto.
I'm not going to get wrapped up in the rhetoric from the debunker sites that falsely state that conspiracy theorists always say that the magic bullet was in pristine condition, when in fact they'd say almost pristine. No, I'm not going to get into any of that. What I am going to get into is the scientific facts that back some admissions that in fact there was a conspiracy, and that yes, a shot was fired from the grassy knoll, and this has been proven at a 95 to 96.3% chance, which is basically beyond a shadow of a doubt. The President's Commission on the Assassination of President Kennedy, known unofficially as the Warren Commission, was established on November 29, 1963, to investigate the assassination of the United States President John F. Kennedy on November 22nd. Its 888-page final report was presented to Johnson on September 24, 1964, and was made public 3 days later. It concluded that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone in the killing of Kennedy and the wounding of Texas Governor John Connally. 15 years after the Warren Commission issued the report, a congressional committee named the United States House Select Committee on Assassinations reviewed the Warren Commission's report and the underlying FBI report on which the commission heavily relied. The committee criticized the performance of both the Warren Commission and the FBI for failing to investigate whether other people conspired with Oswald to murder President Kennedy. The committee report concluded the FBI's investigation of whether there had been a conspiracy in President Kennedy's assassination was seriously flawed. The conspiracy aspects of the investigation were characterized by a limited approach and inadequate applications and use of available resources and technology. The committee concluded that Lee Harvey Oswald fired 3 shots at President John F. Kennedy. The second and third shot had fired struck the president. The third shot he fired killed him. The HSCA agreed with the single bullet theory, aka the magic bullet, but concluded that it occurred at a time during the assassination that differs from what the Warren Commission had theorized. They proposed that 4 shots had been fired during the assassination. Oswald fired the first, second, and fourth bullets, and that, based on acoustic evidence at the time, there was a high probability that an unnamed second assassin fired the third bullet, but missed from President Kennedy's front right from the location concealed behind the grassy knoll picket fence. G. Robert Blakey, attorney for the House Select Committee on Assassinations, told ABC News that the conclusion that a conspiracy existed in the assassination was established by both witness testimony and acoustic evidence. And this is also worth mentioning. Okay, now, this could go back and forth either way. You could think that this guy's statement's crazy or whatever, but I just thought it, that it was worth mentioning, okay? So you debunkers and dupers out there, don't fly off the handle with this like you got something to do, okay? All right. It's a confession of a guy named James Files in 1994. He admits that he was the guy in the grassy knoll, and by his statements and stuff and his confession to being the second shooter and everything, it does kind of go along with the story of the acoustics and the witnesses and everything. And here's what he said. When I got to the point where I thought it would be the last field of fire, I had zeroed in to the left side of the head. There that I had, because if I waited any longer, Mrs. Kennedy would have been in the line of fire, and I had been instructed for nothing to happen to her. And at that moment, I figured this was my last chance for a shot. He goes on to say that he's getting ready to shoot. Kennedy gets hit in the back of the head as he's pulling his trigger. He says it's about 1,000th of a second ahead of his shot, and he shot. And he said that he hit him from the front front side of the head just as his head goes forward, which is this is pretty interesting. I mean, on a side note, from all the scientific evidence, I mean, we're looking at it now. I never even thought about that there was, you know, almost a simultaneous shot. When you look at it, his head does go forward for a moment, then back. Okay, which by the acoustics and this guy's confession, I mean, it's pretty bad. After the House Assassinations Committee made their report, the National Academy of Science subsequently disputed the evidence of the fourth shot containing the police audio of Dealey Plaza that day. The panel insisted it was simply random noise, perhaps static, recorded at a minute after the shooting while Kennedy's motorcade was en route to the hospital. Let's move forward in time to 2001 through 2006. The Britain's Forensic Science Society, Science and Justice, says that the NAS panel study was seriously flawed. George Robert Bakey, the former chief counsel for the House Assassinations Committee, said the NAS panel study has always bothered him because it dismissed all 4 punitive shots as random noise, even though the 3 sound bursts from the book depository matched up precisely with film of the assassination and other evidence such as the echo patterns in Dealey Plaza. This is an honest, careful scientific examination of everything that we did through the Assassination Committee with all the appropriate statistical checks. It shows that we made some mistakes too, but minor mistakes. The main thing is when push comes to shove, he increased the degree of confidence that a shot was fired from the grassy knoll. We thought there was a 95% chance that it was a shot from there. After these more modern day tests, scientific studies, he puts it at a 96.3%. Either way, it's beyond a reasonable doubt. Over in the description is links to the most up-to-date scientific findings on this topic conducted by world-renowned, reputable, and credible scientists using the most up-to-date technologies. You can't get around this. None of them other studies out there are as up-to-date as these. I mean, and it puts it at a 96.3% chance. I mean, and that is basically without a reasonable doubt there that there was shots fired from the grassy knoll. And that means that there was a what? What does that mean, guys? Y'all tell me out there, say it with me. Conspiracy. Okay? So anyway, debunk that. Anyhow, I'm ChangeDaChannel. This has been Debunk This. Catch me next time when we tackle another controversial issue. And I'm out. And after this episode, I believe the debunkers were starting to get ticked off. I mean, they started to realize that I wasn't going to present the things they wanted me to in each one of these. Instead, they found that I presented new things, as well as providing links, you know, so there can't be any mistakes made. The new technology used to tighten up what we pretty much knew anyhow. You know, now a lot of people will say, you know, the driver killed Kennedy, you know, over the shoulder shots and all sorts of things that, you know, I should have put in, but have no scientific evidence that beats the 96.8% correctness ratio that the new research uncovered. I mean, come on, you can't get, I mean, that's just tight. After this episode, I wanted to mix it up again, so I decided to do some research on some government testing. ChangeDaChannel is Debunk This, a show for debunkers to do their thing, as well as for the choir to have a reference point. So many people find it hard to believe that we're being poisoned, tested on. Their plans are documented to control and contain us, as well as kill us by the powers that be. That indeed conspiracies exist, and not everyone who speaks of this is a nut job, or you got to call yourself a nut job, because everybody believes in conspiracy theories. Everybody has one, whether you're talking about OJ, whether you're talking about 9/11. No matter what side of the fence on, you are a conspiracy theorist. Debunk that, by the way. Now, this show isn't about why they do what they do. It's about the fact that it has and is being done. Now, this show won't be covering hours worth of evidence. We will focus on an element or two and keep it simple and to the point. Now, all links are going to be provided for this, from declassified documentation to news articles. Now, there are many people who like to comment, and I know you've seen them, you might even be one of these people. That is ridiculous to think that the U.S. government will poison, test, or even kill its own citizens. I mean, they say that you're a conspiracy nut. Or they ask, why would the government do that to its own people? And to those people, I have to say, to understand why, one must understand how and if they're even doing it. Now, through investigation and research, the how and if can be found in declassified material, documentation, appending evidence to the why. Now let's get on into this, and let's start by taking a look at 64 years of declassified material dating from 1931 to 1995. Now, using any search engine out there that you want to use, type in human experimentation, government experimentation, and you'll get a bunch of sites out there that have the same list that's going from 1931 to 1995. Now, on all of these lists, I went through so many sites that have the same list, but they don't tell where they got this information from. And I kind of got to say that I think that they just got it off another website and then put it on theirs instead of resourcing this stuff, looking it up and seeing where this information came from. I know it makes it hard to do, but you know, that's just how it is. So what I did was I went through the list, and I just kind of went through and I picked a bunch of ones to cover, and then I researched it. So let's start with the 1931. 1931, Dr. Cornelius Rose, under the Rockefeller Institute for Medical Investigation, infects human subjects with cancer cells. Now, this cat later goes on to establish the U.S. Army Biological Warfare facilities in Maryland, Utah, and Panama. And he is named to the U.S. Atomic Energy Commission. And while there, he begins a series of radiation exposure experiments on American soldiers and civilian hospital patients. 1932, the Tuskegee syphilis study begins. 200 black men diagnosed with syphilis are never told of their illness, are denied treatment, and instead are used as human guinea pigs in order to follow the progression and symptoms of the disease. They subsequently die from syphilis, and their families are never told that they could have been treated. 1938, a little psychological experimentation here. The War of the Worlds aired on October 30th over CBS Radio with 6 million listeners. And they presented with a series of simulated news bulletins which suggested that an actual Martian invasion was in progress. Now, some listeners heard only a portion of the broadcast. And in the atmosphere of tensions and anxiety leading to World War II, took it to be a real news broadcast. Now, newspapers reported that panic ensued. People were fleeing the areas. Others was thinking they were smelling poison gas, and so on and so on. Now, this was directed and narrated by Orson Welles. The episode was an adaptation of H.G. Wells' novel, The War of the Worlds. Now, Wells' adaptation was one of the radio project's first studies. Now, the radio project was a social research project funded by Rockefeller Foundation to look into the effects of mass media on society. 1940, 400 prisoners in Chicago were infected with malaria in order to study the effects of new and experimental drugs to combat the disease. Nazi doctors, later on the trial in Nuremberg, cite this American study to defend their own actions during the Holocaust. 1942, Chemical Warfare Services began mustard gas experiments on approximately 4,000 servicemen. The experiments continued until 1945 and made use of the Seventh-day Adventists who chose to become human guinea pigs rather than serve on active duty. In 1969, Dr. Robert McMahon of the Department of Defense requests from Congress $10 million to develop, within 5 to 10 years, a synthetic